Hello, human peoples. You're listening to the podcast network of Gamefully Unemployed. To support us and gain access to great exclusive podcasts like Fox Mulder is a Maniac, Tom and Jeff Watch Batman, Star Trek The Next Futurama, and our latest show, Spiel Boys, head over to patreon.com/gamefullyunemployed. We do game streaming, movie nights with our patrons every Friday night, and you can even commission your own podcast about anything you want. Literally anything, within reason, and we have to do it. You are quite frankly out of excuses not to go visit patreon.com/gamefullyunemployed. That's patreon.com/GAMEFULLY unemployed, which is spelled like it sounds.
Why didn't I have Sudafed? Why didn't I have Sudafed?
I don't know, dude.
I don't either.
What do you want?
I'm a booger man. That's what I am. Hi, everybody.
Hello!
My name is David Bell.
My name's Tom Ryman.
And which we just watched, that's the words,
Yeah.
The Boogeyman.
The Boogeyman?
He boogies.
I'm your Boogeyman.
Yeah, that's what he does. You know, he dances around.
This light is going to be completely solid like it is right now. Then gradually, it's going to start flashing until it's totally dark. So you can see that there's nothing to be afraid of. Okay? See? That's not so scary, is it? Just you, your sister, and me. You're doing okay. It's not real. It's okay. It's okay.
So listen, the only thing I actually am like, oh, I wish we kind of covered it was The Blackening. That's this weekend.
Mm-hmm.
And Extraction 2 came out. Nothing else. Just those two.
Just those two films. Actually, I think in terms of how much it's making versus its budget, The Blackening is the biggest hit of the weekend.
Yes, biggest hit of the weekend.
Yeah.
I love it. Oh yeah, Elemental. That's another one.
Elemental is flopping.
Yep.
Yeah. Flash is bombing, but yeah.
Yeah. This is all to say, this is like a one for us. I'm sure people have seen this movie, but
sure,
you know, it's not the biggest thing out. We're certainly not gonna do The Flash. Elemental felt like it was like, I don't know, it's a fucking kids movie, you know?
Yeah, and
this
it's
is,
Pixar.
This is more our groove.
Yeah, this is more kind of what you want to hear our opinions on. Nobody wants to hear us talk about Pixar.
They do, though. They really do.
They just, but yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, this is the Booger Man. It's got the guy from Devil in it.
Chris Messina.
Yeah, that's what his most famous thing is, right?
No, the Mindy Project, I think. Was that?
Sure.
He's on. He played a doctor on some TV show. I think it was the Mindy Project. Anyway,
sure. He was also in She Dies Tomorrow.
Yeah, he's in Birds of Prey. He plays Zaz.
Yeah.
Yeah. He was in Sharp Objects with Amy Adams on HBO.
Oh.
And the lead is Sophie Thatcher from Yellow Jackets. Is what she's on right now.
I'm looking her up. She's in Boba Fett's.
Yeah. She played one of the hot rodding teens that made everybody mad on the internet.
Ah, nice. She's in Prospect, that movie.
Yeah, she's the kid.
Cool.
She, in Prospect.
Okay. Yeah, good for her. She was also in the Exorcist TV series. I don't know why I'm going through everybody's...
You do this sometimes, Dave. It's just a thing you do. It's like a tick.
Well, it helps. It also helps for me to be like, okay, I know who this person is now, you know? But this is based off a Stephen King short, I want to say.
Yes, it's a short story.
This is the director of The Host or Host? Host.
Just Host. The Zoom horror movie that came out in 2020 in the middle of the pandemic that was not bad.
Yeah, it was fine.
I think it got a little bit more praise than it deserved just because it managed
People were desperate.
People were desperate, and it managed to work so well in the Zoom format and be just under 60 minutes, so they didn't have to pay for the premium subscription to do it.
That's true. Yeah.
So yeah, I think that movie showed enough directorial promise for sure. So I was happy that the director is continuing to make movies. Yep.
And this is their newest movie. And what did you think? What did you think of this Booger Man?
Oh, I liked it. I liked it I thought the ending is not great, but for the most part, I really enjoyed it.
That's interesting. Because what do you mean by ending?
I mean, the showdown with the monster, I thought didn't that was a weird way for that to happen.
I thought that was as interesting as it could get. I actually found this movie rather boring, I gotta say.
Oh, really? Okay.
It definitely has talent behind it. Like, there's no denying that. The opening shot, very good. But I don't think this is the director's fault. I think this is probably what the Stephen King story is.
Oh, no, not at all.
Really?
It's very.
Well, that really bums me out.
It's pretty loosely based on it. Basically, the Stephen King story is the David Dastmalchian character coming in to talk to the therapist, and he relates the story about how the Boogeyman has systematically killed all of his children.
Okay.
The story ends the same way that the movie ends, where he leaves the office and then goes back in because he forgot something, and the therapist is gone, and the closet door is open.
Got it.
So yeah, the movie does technically do the short story, but it way expands upon it.
Okay. Because my critique of this was it felt very standard issue horror movie. And what I mean by that is like the house. It's first of all, it's a house. It's that same house that you see in like Conjurings or anything. It's like that suburban ranch style where like even when it's daytime, for some reason, it's always dark. It's the same, for the most part, it feels very visually like every other movie. The closet, because it's literally the Boogeyman, it's playing off of those cliches. But for the most part, I found the cliches rather cliched. The family who had been affected, that felt very much like a lot of horror movies where you go and you find, Smile did it, It Follows did it. A lot of movies did.
I know she did last summer.
Like, this is the person who has just been haunted. Little girl, mourning family. That's a big theme in a lot of these horror movies.
Mm-hmm.
And so for that reason, I felt like this movie's I'm going to completely forget this movie. Even though it does have some good things, ultimately I got a little fidgety during it because it was just like,
sure.
It kind of, a lot of it's just like, this looks like every horror movie. You know what I mean?
Sure. Here's what got me.
Right.
One is the performances. I think all the actors are great.
Oh, they're fantastic.
Which really sells it. Two, I loved the monster. And
monster looks great.
What I love,
fantastic monster.
He's a fantastic looking monster. But what I really loved about the monster is you don't fucking see him until the last 10 minutes. And I loved that. Let me finish my thought.
I would have liked not seeing him at all, but yeah, go on.
Yeah, I did. I loved how they kept him from us. Like, it was really, because obviously, like, everybody's, even though we know Jaws works, everybody's scared to do that because, like, you don't want audiences to get bored. And if audiences go to a monster movie, they want to see a monster. Like, that's
right.
One of the reasons why everybody hates The Village. But
yeah. Oh yeah.
They did the director and just how the closet scenes are staged, how the monster is shot, so you never really see him until the very, very end. It was really doing the Jaws thing where you don't see the shark for a long time, but it was like pushing it even further. I felt like they really withhold him from you, but it's still effective. Like, it still has a presence. Just like, when you don't see the shark in Jaws, but you hear its music, you're like, oh, fuck.
I do have some questions about the monsters.
Oh, sure. But yeah. I like that you just need to kind of see the reflection of his eyes. I really liked that they designed the reflection of his eyes to look the way that things in your room or in the house look in the dark when it's catching light.
Yo, for sure.
I like that. Just real quick.
No, keep going.
I like that he does the mimic stuff. That was really fucking creepy.
The mimic was really good. I really liked that.
It's just, I can't say enough good things about the monster, and not just how the monster looks, because when you do finally see him, it is pretty crazy. But
yeah, I have one critique, which is the spider
leg, but like beyond,
because you know what these writers also wrote? A Quiet Place.
Sure.
And so it's like, okay, so it's just the one.
It's just the one monster.
Kind of
it's the J.J. Abrams monster. Got it.
Yeah, exactly.
But beyond that, they did. It is different. It's not just a spider monster.
Well, I think the strength was in its, like you're saying, the eyes and its face, because they design it kind of like an insect look, but it looks like it's smiling, but it looks like it's not, like it's it's like when you look at a bug's face and it looks like a demon's face.
Yeah, and then
they do that with it, which is really cool.
The fucking reveal when it opens its mouth and 2 little arms and a second head come out of its mouth.
That was awesome. But I guess that's the thing is, so you have that monster. This is why I was talking about where the ending actually was the part that I enjoyed, because when I watched the ending when they're in the basement, I was like, why wasn't this more of a monster movie? Like Alien or something like that. Like, I agree seeing the monster is good.
It felt like it couldn't decide. I'll let you finish, but I do think you're onto something there because it's related to why I didn't like the ending. But continue.
Right, because you were probably, your brain was in the other mode.
Yes.
Which so was mine. Which is one of the big issues with this movie is it supernatural or not? Because it seems like at the end, when the woman's like, I found its weakness and it's a shotgun, I cackled because I was like, well, yeah, I guess.
But it wasn't a shotgun, was it, Dave?
No, it wasn't. But you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Where it's like, oh, so you could just light it on fire and hit it with a bat and shit? Oh.
Apparently not.
Okay, so yeah, well, at the end, it's standard issue horror where at the end it's not dead. Yeah.
It's always funny when that happens, when they just reduce it to that.
Right, because it kept disappearing, but then it was a physical creature at the end.
Sometimes.
So it was like, this feels weird that they're not making, like I kind of wanted a little more rules there, because it felt like it could just do whatever. Like the fact that it could vanish, but so it was like, oh, okay, is it a chameleon? Because honestly, if it's a chameleon, use that. That's really cool.
I don't know. I felt
it just sort of vanishes.
I felt like the rules were simple enough. It vanishes when the lights come on. Like it has to be in the dark.
It also does it's just screwing with you. So like that bothered me a little bit because it was like it has the little girl in one scene and all it does is throw her into a TV like a pro wrestler. And I was like, I laughed because I was like, that's not what I expected it to do. Isn't it an animal then? Like, is it going to eat her? Like
it just kills you.
It felt like but it didn't just kill her,
well,
right?
It tried. That was not for lack of trying. It threw her across the room through a television set.
Right, but everybody else it tears in half or eats.
Well,
that was a
hung
weird
the
thing
first
for it
guy.
to do.
It bit the crazy mom on the face. It does something that you don't see to the toddler in the beginning, and just blood flies on the wall. I think it just kind of, it's like Terminator. He improvises.
Yeah, it just felt like this movie kills one kid. I think it needed to kill that other kid or something.
It needed to kill that bully. I'll tell you what.
Oh, I was going to talk about that. That's the other thing that really I had struggled with.
Yeah,
which is impossible bullies.
Right. The bully in this movie is a sociopath. Like it's a Stephen King bully where
so is the friends because she's hanging out.
Right. They're just full on unhinged, ripping into her, and it's literally like they're dunking on Sophie Thatcher because like, oh, you're dead, mom, or you're sad about your mom. That's like literally what the bully is teasing her about.
The first time she bullies her, she walks away and she goes, what is her deal? And I'm like, I know what you all know what her deal is. You know what her deal is.
Her mom died 2 months ago.
Yeah. They literally, her first day back in school, they just bully her.
Yeah, and they destroy her mom's dress that she's wearing.
Right, and they try to do this thing where it's like, oh no, they're actually your friends. And it's like, why would you think they're your friends? Like they're clearly just bullying you in the hallway. It was a real like, these bullies are they don't exist. People like this don't fucking exist.
Yeah.
Like they did a good job at first where it was everybody doing the pity.
Yeah.
And it was like, that's a good angle, right? Like to show that people have good intentions, but they don't know what to do.
Nobody knows what to do. So it's, yeah. I think
if they did like a counselor who's trying to help but is really condescending, but like that, the bully was just like, I don't. This person doesn't exist.
Yeah, it's just a maniac. It's a character that exists solely to be eaten by the monster. So I was very disappointed when she was not eaten by the monster.
Yes, it was weird.
Here's what I wanted to say about the ending. So, it feels like the movie wanted to do two things. It wanted to be a monster movie, but it also wanted to be an allegorical horror movie about grief and loss and letting go. Because it attaches itself to families that have had tragedy. Like the first guy that comes in to talk to Chris Messina, who is a therapist and is Sophie Thatcher's dad, is like, our first kid died of SIDS. And then we couldn't get over it. Like, it destroyed our marriage. It was wrecking the household. And then the boogeyman showed up. So, like, this new fan, like, he brings the boogeyman to their house when he goes in for his therapy appointment. And now it's glommed onto them because mom has just died 2 months ago and nobody's dealing with it well. I really liked, actually, Chris Messina's character in this movie. I thought he was
he's
well written and well performed, just because he's a dad that is not dealing with it. Not in like a brutish or like overbearing way. He's just not dealing with it. And I thought it was really realistic. Like, he's just avoiding it.
Yes, I think he was great. I think his wife was a different thing, but we'll talk about that.
I don't even remember the wife character. I didn't remember her being in the movie.
The mother, right?
Is she in a
house.
flashback? Yeah, that's right.
No, with the shotgun. That's her, right?
That's not his wife.
Oh, who is that?
That's the crazy dude that comes in, who gets killed by the boogeyman in the beginning.
Oh, I'm sorry. You're talking about. Sorry, I confused the two. Chris Messina.
Chris Messina's
because
the
I was saying
therapist.
the other guy is great too.
Oh yeah, that's David Dust Malkian. It's Polka Dot Man.
Polka Dot Man. Yeah, he does a great job. But go on. Sorry.
But yeah, so I thought he was really realistic. Anyway, so a lot of it's about how this family is not talking to each other about this huge loss that they've all suffered. And she's clinging to her mom's dresses and clinging to all of her mom's art supplies. So they really are pushing this movie in the direction where you think, okay, the way to get rid of the boogeyman is to come together as a family, heal this trauma, and let go and move on. And that's kind of what they do symbolically at the end when they team up and beat the boogeyman's ass. But the way the movie had been going up to that point, I was really expecting a different kind of ending where it wasn't a physical confrontation with the monster.
It would have been nice. But I'm sure it was a producer note.
I'm sure. But again, I get it. It's a studio movie. It's a theatrical horror mainstream horror movie. They want to put butts in seats. And like I just got done saying a few minutes ago, if people don't see the monster, they get kind of upset.
Yeah. So. Again, that's standard issue horror to me, which is like grief trauma, right?
It is. It's very cookie cutter. It is in that respect.
And so for that reason, it's like, I do hold it to a higher standard, which is like, okay, well, you're going to have to say something about this, right? You're going to have to say something unique. Like Babadook's about grief, but it's a very well done movie about grief, right?
It's about putting it in a box.
Yeah, exactly.
It's about keeping the Babadook in your house.
Yeah, exactly. It's about the idea that, it never leaves.
It never goes away. Yeah, it's always going to be there. Yeah.
Right. So, like, this movie didn't feel like it had enough to say ultimately.
Not
that
really.
It's like...
The way I interpreted the ending, and this could be overly generous, but I don't think so, because it's clearly was made by thoughtful people and people with skill. Yeah. So, like, at the end, when she goes through a therapist's office and the closet door is open and she kind of knows the boogeyman's still out there, to me, that I think they were going for a similar thing with the Babadook's ending, where it's like, well, you never really beat this, because wait around long enough, you're going to lose somebody else. And for Boogeyman will be right there waiting for you.
Right. But now that we mentioned the Babadook, my feeling is like, that's the better version of this entire thing. To me,
it's a different. It's a different movie.
B words,
but it's
silly B words.
Even though they're both horror movies about grief, I think the Babadook is a very different movie.
Right. I just mean like almost like because Babadook is another. This basically sounds like Boogeyman.
Yeah.
It's about the thing that goes bump in the night. It's kind of around. Yeah, you're right. They're very different movies for sure.
I like that Babadook came to party. He's got his hat on. He's really fucking stoked.
Oh, I want to watch Babadook.
He always looks jazzed.
Yeah. He looks like a jazz musician. He's great. He's it's the silliest fucking horror movie character.
Yeah, it's awesome.
I mean, like a lot of horror movie characters, see him in the light, it's funny. If you were, say, making a movie based on like a Tim Burton character, you wouldn't want to set it in the desert, right?
No, probably
You wouldn't
not.
want a scene where that character is in broad daylight in the desert. It just makes it silly.
I mean,
Unrelated.
Edward Scissorhands is actually a meditation on that entire idea, Dave. But
yeah, it's true.
Let's move on.
But that's a comedy.
Yeah.
It's a lot of things.
It's a dramedy, fantasy. Anyway.
Dramedy.
A fairy tale.
Boogeyman.
Anyway, Boogeyman.
Yeah. No, I was talking about the when she goes and visits that abandoned house. That's something I want to talk about, is that this also I had trouble with, which is that the characters do not do intelligent things. The little girl very quickly is like, there's this boogeyman that's in the dark. Anyway, I'm going to go play video games in the dark. And it's like, what are you doing? Like, there's so many times where the characters, after realizing like what it is, will just willingly go into the dark. Like way too often.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of times where it's just like that, the mom who's in the abandoned house, like, again, when she walks into that abandoned house, like, hello. And I'm like, there's no one there. And then amazingly there is. And I'm like, what are you doing here? Like, go to a bus station, go to somewhere where there's light.
Well, she's strung out and lost her entire family to this monster. So she is staying in that house until she gets it.
I understand, but it just didn't, I don't know. It's one of those movies where it felt like it's the characters having to do things to serve the horror.
Yeah.
Again, like when the house is fully lit, it's not lit. You know what I mean? Like, she'll turn on the lights to her room and it's like, why isn't it actually bright in here?
Yeah.
If, like, you know, embrace the idea that it's like, no, light is going to be a thing in this. And they were smart to make the boogeyman like kind of a fuck up the lights as it went. But like not at first, you know?
Yeah, not until it starts getting pissed at the end.
Yeah. So I felt like when she goes into the basement and stuff like that, I'm like, what are you doing? Like, you all know there's a boogeyman. Like, I could,
a boogeyman is on the loose.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
like,
obviously the dad's not going to buy it, but like,
but the kids, like
especially
the
little girl, should be like, it takes Sophie Thatcher a little while to accept it, but definitely the little girl should be like, all of the lights must be on.
Right, all the time.
Because I was like that.
Video games.
I was like that after the Terror Dogs and Ghostbusters scared the shit out of me. I wanted all the lights in the house on. So if I actually saw a boogeyman in my room,
yeah, I'd be like, all right.
I'd be sitting in the car. I'd be like, we're going to Howard Johnson's.
Right.
I'll meet you outside.
Right, and it felt similar with the woman in the house where it's like she's using like candles, and it's like, get some floodlights in here. They have floodlights, but they're not like plugged in. And it's like, why are you making your house terrifying? Like, if you're hunting a boogeyman, like, I would have accepted someone who's like obsessed and they've really thought about it. But it didn't feel like she'd really thought about it. I know she's kind of a wild card. They have that ability.
Well, I think she's trying to trap it, so you don't want to eliminate the dark because it needs the dark to be there.
You'd want to control the dark, right? Like, you'd want lit areas and stuff. And so, like, that's where I was like, I feel like I wish this was a little more thoughtful, where it's like, okay, this person is like strategizing to kill a booger man. I want to see what that would look like. You know what I mean? Like, and it felt like they didn't, they leaned on the fact that she's kind of out of her mind, which is their right. But I think it's more interesting if she was like really organized. You know what I mean?
Yeah, she could have been both.
It was like, yeah, exactly. Yeah. Where it's like she could have had these floodlights in these like really bright rooms set up that she knew were safe. But it felt like they were going for like the easy, like, you know, our spooky is candles, you know?
Yeah.
And let's make it look spooky in here. And it felt like they leaned on, let's not make it logical. Let's just make it scary. And then let's do the thing where even when it's daytime, it's like faded gray. And I like, that's a crutch to me, you know?
Sure.
Like that idea of like, we're dealing with the concept of light, you know, in a movie. So let's play with light.
Yeah.
More.
I thought they were going to play with closets more too. Because it's specifically, there was a moment when she's at school and she's getting something out of her locker and the shot is from inside the locker. I was like, ooh.
Right.
It felt like they were planting a seed there where it's like, oh, can this motherfucker pop out of lockets? They're technically closets.
Yeah, that would be cool.
Yeah.
Anything like when another thing was like, I really liked the Christmas lights, but then they didn't really do anything with it. And it was like, that's a cool idea. These blinking Christmas lights that she's wrapped around her like armor. I kind of wanted, like, honestly, like if the boogeyman killed the other family members, it was just the little girl like walking around the house with those lights. And it's like they point out that she's on a leash, right?
Yeah.
But all that happens is she runs and unplugs it ultimately, where it's like, it would have been really cool if there was like a sequence where she's trying to get somewhere, but she's tangled in these wires and she's alone. And like she can keep, every time the lights are blinking, she can see the boogeyman like trying to advance. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Where it's like it has these windows to get closer.
They do that aspect of it, but that's all they do with it. It's where you can
like,
kind of see him moving and trying to advance, like you said. But
yeah, but you could like really fucking make a gut wrenching sequence.
Yeah,
that I feel like they kind of missed that opportunity.
Yeah, I think they could have gone for it more.
Yeah,
but yeah, I just keep going back to I love the monster so much, and I love the way that they keep him from you, and that he still has, to me anyway, a scary presence throughout the movie, even though you can't see him.
Oh, it's a great monster. Yeah,
so good. I can't say enough good things about that. It's really impressive how they managed to make a monster movie where the monster is present throughout, and you really don't see him. It's like, because that's straight from the book, or not the book, the short story. And it's a common Stephen King thing. Like, he doesn't describe what Pennywise looks like. He's like, well, you just can't wrap your mind around it. He kind of looks like a spider.
Oh, for sure.
He does the same thing with the Boogeyman, where all he ever describes are his eyes and he's got claws, and that's it. So I love that they did that visually and they pulled it off. That's really impressive.
Oh, for sure. I think there's other things you could do. Like,
yeah, I do wish they went further with the other ideas, for sure. Sorry.
I have a weird thought about this movie. When I thought this was more based off the book than it was, I was going to say this at the beginning, is that what I'm more excited for is if they make a sequel, weirdly enough, if they don't just do the same fucking thing again, because honestly, the Boogeyman, the design of the creature and the, can't be in the light, which, there's been a lot of those. I don't know. You remember what? Darkness Falls. Lights Out. The Tooth Fairy one. I think it's Darkness Falls.
I've never seen it, but it's the Tooth Fairy one, but I've not seen it.
We had like a early 2000s version of this, and then Lights Out. Where it's like, again, it's a little cookie cutter. That doesn't mean you can't do it right. But what I was going to say is this monster and the device of the monster, it's weird to say, but like, I don't know, put it on like an army base, put it on a spaceship, put it in a more dynamic setting is, I guess, what I wanted, where I realized like this house, I was like, I don't know, this is more of a monster movie. This is more of an alien movie to me. You know what I mean? Where it's like, once I realized the thing could just be like set on fire and stuff, I was like, I kind of want to see this in more of a sci-fi setting than a haunted house setting.
Sure,
but it felt less supernatural. You know what I mean?
Sure, but you kind of have to start that because that's the Boogeyman. The Boogeyman's the monster in the closet. The Boogeyman's the monster under the bed. No, I get that
for sure.
Like, it's...
But I guess the Boogeyman is the monster in the closet to me that feels more supernatural than what this ultimately was, Where when I realized it was like a creature.
To an extent, because it's not really. Like, I mean, it's like physical for periods of time, and I guess it's like it manifests itself long enough to get its ass beat in the end, but like,
right,
it doesn't do anything.
Yeah, I just feel like there's a lot more to do here.
Yeah,
like flashlights didn't really come into play, and it's like, where the fuck are the flashlights? Pick up a flashlight, and again, the flashlight won't save them. It'll make for creepiness where you're like chasing it with the flashlight to get it away from you.
Yeah,
like There's just like, some thoughts of like what to do. Like that little orb was cool, but it didn't last long.
Oh, the moon. Yeah, I like the moon. I did. There was a good scene though. I like when they set up the dynamic of she rolls her little moon, and then she rolls it down the hall around the corner, and you just hear somebody fucking stomp on it, and the light goes out. That was good.
The one thing, it's weird because they're dealing with a lot of other concepts that movies have covered, but the one thing I think was the strength that I also wish they did more of, maybe, was what you already mentioned, the fact that it could mimic, like in the film Mimic. The idea, like, I mean, that movie Mimic, which is, I remember, pretty boring. Is it? Or am I thinking of The Relic?
No, I think you're thinking of The Relic. Mimic is Guillermo del Toro, and it's hardcore. That movie kills everyone. It kills multiple children. It doesn't care.
Yeah. Well, that I think is a perfect concept that I'm like, why haven't we done that more? Like, Mimic should be like the Alien series, where it's like an insect And the way insects and bugs are designed to take form, you know, there's like spiders who look like snakes and stuff like that. The idea of an insect that's designed to look like us is a great idea, right? And that's sort of Boogeyman is right on the corner of that, where it's like it can imitate the voice and shit. That's awesome.
Yeah. That was good.
And like that, I mean, that first shot, really, really good.
Yeah.
Because you know it's not, they do this first shot for people who haven't seen the movie where you see the creature come out of a closet. There's a toddler crying, and it's one shot and it keeps like circling the room. And you see it's like little goblin, like claws in one shot, but you hear it imitate the father, and it's saying like, it's okay. It's
I'm
me.
your daddy.
It's okay.
Yeah. It's fucking
and
wild.
it's like, oh fuck, like that. Great fucking opening.
And all you
where
can,
it's like
all you
its
can
voice
see,
is so reassuring, but you know what it is. You can see what it is.
you can see its shoulders, like you can see it hunching over the crib, and then the camera moves away, but it's got that. It's okay, I'm your daddy. It's like, oh my god, like what an offer to start the movie with.
Right.
That's
and I
also
wish there was more.
That's also largely from the short story.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah, and I wish they did a little more of that. Like I think there was some like really surreal ideas they could have done. That I think they could have played with that idea of like, it just looks like fucking. I thought like the mother stuff it was gonna do like imitate the mom or something, do something really fucked up.
Yeah,
like draw the kid into the darkness. There's just like a lot they could have done with it. That's why I'm like, I kind of want to see a sequel where they play with the idea more. You know?
Yeah, I ultimately I enjoy this movie, but I do agree that I feel like there was some stuff left on the table where it's like, man, there's the bones of this are there, and what you did with these ideas was interesting, but you could have done more.
Yeah,
and
I just think
would have really elevated the movie. Yeah.
Yeah, you have a movie set in a haunted, again, the same house of every other modern haunted house movie. It's called The Boogeyman. It's little bit like the spider alien design that we've sort of seen. It's got the bullies. It's got so many standard issue horror things that I wish they had thought about it of way to make it stand out. And I kept waiting for that. I kept being like, oh, are they going to do something really fucking nuts here? And they never really do. And at the end, they just set the thing on fire.
They just fight him. Yeah, it's a physical fight.
Yeah. And so that's why my feeling is like, this was a lot of fun. It was, when I liked it, it was really good. And really good performances, really well directed. I just really see this one falling through the cracks ultimately, where it's like, it's going to be hard for this one to be remembered, I
think the fact that it's a Stephen King will give it some juice. And the fact that there was so much production behind it, like it's not like a massive budget movie, but like there's money in this movie. There's a lot of actors and talent and stuff. But I think, I think it is, apart from all the, I've already been crowing about the monster. But apart from that, it is sort of forgettable. It kind of blends in. I
mean, think about how many movies are called The Boogeyman.
Yes.
Like that's
There's
the thing.
At least two others that I can think of.
The movie is like almost destined. It's almost designed.
This is the best movie called The Boogeyman.
Oh, 100%.
By leaps and bounds.
Yeah. But again, it's like, it's like, okay, if you're going to have this generic of a title, and a setting, and it's like, you really got to pop out. You really got it.
I know they made a short film of this back in the 80s, and I really want to track it down.
Ooh, yeah.
There was like a collection. I remember seeing it at the video store when I was a kid that had like a bunch of stuff from like different seasons, or I think that's or Skeleton Crew. I forget which Stephen King short story collection it's from, and it had a couple of stories from that book as shorts, and one of them was Boogeyman. So I gotta find that.
Yeah. I'm definitely curious to see that.
It's
because I want to see how this is done. Like, in the fucking 80s.
Yeah.
I assume they didn't make a little puppet or anything. I'm sure they made it more abstract.
Hopefully,
or more like the short, I imagine.
Yeah. I mean, he's pretty abstract in this movie as well, but until a tinier person crawls out of its mouth.
Yeah, that's the thing. That's the one thing they pulled off, in my opinion, is like, because we said it. I remember we said in a Hypecast, which is like, they shouldn't show it. They shouldn't show it.
I appreciate that
they did show it.
I appreciate that they barely show it, and when they
I was going to say when they show it.
Yeah.
It's cool.
Yeah.
So I'm like,
really,
okay.
Really step on the gas when they show it to you.
Yeah. And again, it's all in the face. The body is pretty like, well, it's a spider. I get it.
Yeah.
But like the face is really cool. And so it was just like, okay, that was cool. I'm glad you showed it because you had a good design. I
appreciate that. Yeah. And then it breaks the shit out of Chris Messina's leg, which made me laugh for some reason. Yeah.
Well, again, it just beats them up. Which is like, it throws her into a TV and it beats up fucking the dad. It's just like, what a weird thing for the Boogeyman to do.
It reminds me of an all-time great tweet where I can't remember the exact phrasing of it or who tweeted it, unfortunately, but it was something like, so what does the mummy do if he catches you? Does he beat you up?
Yeah, exactly. That is the one. Yeah. And I wish they had thought about that a little longer. Cause like the moment it threw the girl into the TV, I was like, I felt like it's the kind of creature that the moment it has you, you're dead. Cause that's what they imply from the beginning. Yes. Right.
Yeah.
So like, I wish they had kind of, made true on that promise.
I think they wanted to.
The moment it just started throwing them around, it was very funny.
It just like the ultimate warrior. It just like gorilla presses her into the television.
Yeah. Which again, I think very funny.
Yeah, I think it's another case. It's extremely funny, but it's also very shocking because it's like one of the last things you're expecting to happen.
It is, but not for the reason, not for the right reason,
not for the right reasons. But
yeah.
I feel like that was another case of wanting to have your cake and eat it too, because they wanted to. I guess they figured they couldn't get away without the Boogeyman making like a legitimate attempt on one of the kids. If they were not going to actually kill one of the kids, they have to at least be like, well, the Boogeyman can't just dance around the house and not even try to get the kids, because that's what it's here for.
Right.
So I guess they wanted to do something that was a big enough attack that it's like, oh, this kid could be dead and should probably be hospitalized, but also not have it be something that's like ripping her arm off or something,
And she's only hospitalized for like a day,
like an hour.
Yeah. They should have had someone like turn on a light then, you know what I mean, where it's like it should have gotten her and then the lights, because it has enough time to kill her. That's the problem. Like it's like 20 seconds where she flies through the top of the shot and her legs kicking. It like throws her around the room a little bit and then hucks her into the TV. I was like, in that time, we saw it kill an infant in like 2 seconds, Well,
those are really easy to kill, I was like, Dave.
What is
They're
it doing?
So easy to kill.
That's true. But she's almost an infant.
That's true.
It just like that. I was like,
maybe he thought it would work.
What is it doing?
Maybe it's worked before.
Yeah.
Maybe that's one of his go-to moves. You know how like when we play D&D, you like to do weird shit like bowling ball people? Maybe that's one of his go-tos. He's like, all right, I'm whipping out the TV press. Yeah.
Yeah.
It may have bowling balled the kid in the beginning. We don't know what happened to that kid.
We don't know.
We just know it was violent.
Yeah, and quick.
Yeah.
And it's just over.
Immediate.
What was it doing with the teenage girl with the tooth and like it like spews into her senses? Like what was, they never really explain that, do they?
I think it's just haunting her.
Yeah, see, I don't like that.
And it has to haunt her in a little bit more of an abstract way because she's older and doesn't scare as easily as the little girl, I suppose.
I feel like we're doing the work for the movie.
I feel like it too, because if you saw that fucking thing, it doesn't matter if you're a 45-year-old man or a 6-year-old little kid. It's like I'm shitting myself if I see that monster.
And again, it's a supernatural thing where she has a dream vision where like that, the timeline of that is weird, where she gets the thing busts through the door and goes in her mouth. And I was like, oh, okay. So it's like in her dreams.
That scene was crazy. That was like a
good instinct.
A good instinct.
Sure.
Yeah. It's so sudden because the door it seems like it's the continuation of a scene we just saw. her little sister's chasing her to fight with her. She just goes into her room and slams the door, and the sister's kicking it and shouting like, "Let me in!" She's like, "Go, just leave me alone." Like, so it totally seems like it's just an extension of the scene we just saw, and then all of a sudden the fucking door gets kicked off its hinges.
Right, and the little fucking Babadook goes squirming into her. But then she like wakes up, and I was like, okay, I don't understand the timeline now. What was all a dream? But it doesn't matter, whatever.
Yeah.
But then later she coughs up a tooth, and then nothing really comes of that. So like, and then later the demon like, it like tackles her, and then it like puts more goop in her, or like takes goop out, but that never amounted to anything. So I'm like, I don't know what that was. Maybe that was a cut scene, but
I don't know
what was it doing. It didn't seem like, I thought at first like, oh, it's going to possess her, but she didn't really get possessed.
No, that also feels like maybe a note. I don't know, because it does seem like it seems like, when we're talking about like when we were talking about Mortal Kombat, it's like, okay, every 15 minutes there's got to be a fight.
Yes.
So it's like there has to be some
Even if
kind
it doesn't
of
make any sense. Yeah.
So it's like in this movie, it's like, okay, there has to be some kind of scare. It can't just be this, because it's it's a studio movie, like we've said. They want to put butts in seats, and mainstream horror audiences can be very impatient, traditionally, generally. So the reason I'm thinking that is because the initial idea with the tooth I loved, because it's. Her little sister's tooth is loose, so she ties a string to her tooth to the door of the closet and is going to slam it, and they're counting down, and then the little sister chickens out at the last minute. She's like, "Don't do it, don't slam, I'm scared." And she's like, "Okay, I won't slam it." And then the closet slams on its own and rips her tooth out. And it's, she has to, it's her sister's distraught. She has to comfort her and carry her out of the room, but it lingers on the closet door, and we see the string get pulled inside, and then the tooth get pulled inside. And then the scene ends, and I fucking love that, and they could have just left it at that. You just leave it at that,
right?
Because it's just eating. It's just eating pieces of the kid, and that's intensely creepy.
That's a good idea, yeah, for sure.
So, then they called it back for it to have Sophie Thatcher cough it up. It didn't make any sense. So that's
I
why.
Was like, oh, are you the boogeyman?
Yeah.
Like,
so it was like it was taking an idea that was good and could have just. It didn't need to be called back. It wasn't like planning. The only seed it was planting is the boogeyman is going to eat these kids.
Right, so, and it's a big offer to then make her cough it up.
Yeah.
That needs to mean something.
Right.
And they didn't.
No.
So yeah, that was weird. This was originally apparently meant for straight to Hulu. And I'm glad movies are back, but I will say, looking at the box office gross, they should have done that. Like this did not make its money back, or it barely made. It's 35 million, worldwide gross 50 million, and that doesn't count marketing. So
that's not great.
Yeah, I kind of think this might have been this is one where it's like, I don't know if I need to go to theater for this. I do think all movies deserve to go to theater. So like,
yeah, I wish they would have.
I'm conflicted there, but like, if like this feels like it was designed to be kind of a punt where they're like, yeah, throw it on Hulu. Like, I don't know. It feels like the studio didn't have that much in mind for it. I don't know. It's definitely like, it feels like a test film too, because he did Host, and they're like, here, take this. Let's see if you can make a movie, right?
I would say that the direction is quite good in this. I mean, like,
I was about to say, I hope
this monster. So
I hope they recognize that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I guess the director also did Dash Cam actually, and I haven't seen that, but they've done a few movies.
Mm.
So it's not a test, I guess.
Yeah, I mean,
I don't know.
I don't know. It's a test in terms of, okay, what can you do with $30 million?
Right, and what you can do with an actual, like Dash Cam is an actual movie, but it's still found footage.
It's still found footage and low budget. It's also bad. I only got.
Oh really?
It's not the direction. It's the writing is very terrible. Like it's the main character you're following is a super right wing lady, and it's just like after a while, it's like, yeah, we get it. Like we got it. Like I don't need to hear like a right wing reference every second to make me dislike this character. I understand she sucks. Let's move on.
Yeah, that's always a problem where they're like, we're going to make our character unlikable. And then it's like, well,
it's hard to hang out in the movie for 80 minutes if I don't like anyone.
Yeah, exactly. unless you do Deadstream and you torture them. And even that character, they made him funny.
Right.
Where you're laughing at
he's
him.
endearing in a way. Yeah, he's a comic oaf getting his ass beat.
Yeah. It's a hard line to walk for sure.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah.
Boogeyman. Or you do like Uncut Gems where it's just really tense.
Right. Yeah. Where you're just like,
I don't like any of these people, but man, this is tense.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't have anything else to say about the Boogeyman.
Yeah, it was fine. I don't think it'll stay in my brain much longer.
Probably not. But I'm really impressed with the monster and how it was shot.
Yeah, and there was some well shot sequences for sure.
I'd love
and some good performances.
Oh yeah, for sure. I think the performances throughout were really the principal cast definitely.
Yeah.
What I was gonna say is I want to see this director do like a Lovecraft movie.
That would be cool.
Because
for sure.
all those stories also really deal in monsters that you can't really describe.
For sure.
So that would be interesting.
I'm sure the director had some say in it. I'm sure there was a creature design person too.
Yeah.
Who I mean, we don't know. We just don't know.
I'm talking
it could be all him too.
I'm talking about how it was filmed specifically. The fact that they managed to do the thing where you're just seeing an impression of the monster for most of the movie. I thought that was really impressive.
Yeah. So I just looked it up. Actually, the creature designer has done. Wow, Eson Bigelow. I think I'm saying Bigelow. God, I fucked up your name. I'm so sorry. Whew. But they've done a shitload.
Sweet.
They do the Lord of the Rings show. They did
right.
Renfield, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, the new one. They did Ghostbusters Afterlife, Candyman, The Tomorrow War, Godzilla versus Kong, and so on and so forth. So yeah, this person has done a lot of varying degree creature design. They did Prey.
Prey rules.
Morbius. They did Morbius.
Sure.
They did The Pope's Exorcist.
We can be done, Dave. We can be done.
We can. And we will be. Thanks for listening, everybody.
Hey, thank you.
We have a Patreon, patreon.com/gamefullyunemployed. You go on there, you give us $5 a month, you get a bunch of exclusive podcasts like Tom and Jeff Watch Batman, Fox Mulder's Maniac, Star Trek The Next Futurama, Spiel Boys, all for $5 a month. That's so many podcasts. We also watch movies with our patrons every Friday night. That's the thing we also do if you want to kick in a little more. And then there's custom We Just Watched episodes, custom podcasts you can check out. There's a lot of good stuff on there and a great community on our Discord. So if you want a community, you can have one.
Mm-hmm. You are welcome to it. We also have a store, which you are equally welcome to. Head over to gamefullyunemployed.com where you find a link to our Teespring store, where we have all kinds of cool original artwork and designs you can get on t-shirts, mugs, stickers, posters, all sorts of things. So slap your little shining in the darkness Boogeyman peepers onto that.
Yes, in a lot of ways, you are all our Boogeymen. Mm-hmm. You haunt us.
Yes, and like the song said, I am your Boogeyman.
Exactly.